Good morning to our audience in Latin America and the Caribbean, and good afternoon to all participants here in Germany. Welcome to the third conference day of the ExpoVirtual Energiewende Latin America. It is a pleasure to have you all here with us today. Today's topic is environmental technologies and infrastructure. My name is Marta, and today I will be your moderator. Just let me give you a couple of words of to my person. I work as a consultant at Energiewende. We are a consulting and service company based in Berlin, the capital city of Germany. And we have national and international activities. We offer, for example, the organization and management of expert seminars. We also do investment and strategies, marketing strategies for business, as well as creative networking and communication. We mainly focus on energy issues, and we are really delighted that we host the first digital trade fair around the topics of the energy transmission. Our mission is, together with you, to contribute to achieve the energy transition worldwide. We join forces at this fair trade with 20 German chambers of commerce in Latin America, as well as with many other important associations and cooperation partners. Thank you so much for your support, and in Germany and in Latin America as well. We also would like to thank our premium exhibitors from Germany and Latin America. We are very excited to have you on the first digital trade fair on energy transition. Use for the audience now in Latin America, use this unique opportunity to meet our exhibitors at their stands. We have 5 pavilions at this conference. As you can see here, we have, for example, the pavilion on green energy. We have a pavilion focused on solar and storage. We have energy efficiency. We have as well the pavilion on environment and infrastructure, which is also the topic of today, as well as a global hub where you can meet us, Energiewende, and you also meet, for example, the stands of the chambers. I really invite you to visit the stands of our exhibitors. They are looking forward to hearing from you. They are here for you. So just use the chance of digitalization, relax, take a cup of coffee and visit the stands. You are more also than welcome to come to our network launch, where you can interact with the companies. You can share your visit cards, and of course you can chat with each other, have a great conversation with them. As I told you before, today's topic is environmental technologies and infrastructure. We have in the pavilion on this topic 8 companies from Germany and Latin America presenting their companies there, and they provide solutions, for example, from environmental engineering to solution for clean air, pumping solution, and so on. So once again, visit the stands. It is worth. Before we start, just let me give you some technical information. As you can see, we have a lot of interesting presentations today in our first session. We divided the program into 2 sessions. To all speakers, when I ask you on stage, please turn your camera and your microphone on. Otherwise, please be so friendly to leave them off and to leave the stage to other speakers. To the audience, to you in Latin America and the Caribbean, I just want to remind you that our exhibitors and that our speakers are open for questions. So please feel free to ask during the conference to our speakers questions. We have a special chat box for the questions. Just put them in there, and we will collect all the questions and we will read them out to our speakers after their presentation. All presentations are set for 20 minutes so that at the end of our presentation, we will have enough time for discussions, for questions and answers. This live session will be recorded. You will find the recording as well as the recordings of the other days in the video library for the whole duration of the fair. Now, let's begin with our interesting program today. I'm really happy to announce on stage His Excellency Dr. Peter Wurster. He's Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany in El Salvador. His Excellency, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you very well.
So, buenas tardes a todos, and it's a really great pleasure to join you on this conference. And I'm told I should address you in English. These virtual meetings have one big advantage. We don't have to join the organizers in freezing Berlin. It may not be fair telling you that it's blue skies out here in San Salvador, and we are enjoying 24 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning. This is not that I want to make you jealous that I'm telling you this. It is about hinting to the business opportunities. If we have one commodity in excess in Central America, it's sunshine. Only sometimes I have to admit it's a bit too much wind. And I'm addressing with my remarks, in particular, the German business community. Our Latin American friends won't need to be convinced. I know the topic today is as well about, or more about elements like garbage recycling and so. I tell you, there's as well plenty to do here, but I'd like to focus more on the general energy market. It's just 6 weeks that I arrived in the country, and sometimes this has an advantage, not being for so long already in a place. You realize and notice things that after a couple of years you take for granted and don't see any longer. And one of the things really remarkable all around is the renewables are already here. I enjoyed a helicopter ride recently, and we crossed mountains packed with solar panels. We crossed former sugarcane farms. Now the people are farming solar energy. So in Germany, I fear we sometimes think too local. Yes, we are a world trader, but at present we are not really the world investor. And many regions of Latin America have been left out of the focus as an investment opportunity. And in particular, since the 80s, in particular, since unification. In really many aspects, this region is up to our standards, in many regards, well ahead. And Latin America at present hosts some of the most dynamic renewable energy markets. And just to give you a few figures, with more than a quarter of the primary energy coming from renewables in the whole of the continent, and that's twice the global average. There are countries like Costa Rica, Uruguay, Paraguay that generate almost all their electricity from renewables. But, and you are the investors, the market is not saturated. Tapping into the region's clean energy potential could boost the economy. There is quite some potential. But I don't want to convince you just by trying to reach your soft spot. Maybe you have some green genes, and I could remind you that at the dinner table and the discussions with your Fridays for Future daughter, you want to reach out to her as well. But what is really more important, I think, from your perspective, there's a business orientation and there's a business focus here. COVID-19 changes the world, and GDPs are dropping. But as you know, there's a chance in every crisis, and the COVID recession is already changing the energy market. coal is out, and what I read, it won't come back. Sweden has closed its last coal-fired plant a couple of months early. The UK didn't burn a single shovel of coal to produce electricity for over a month. And even the USA, even the US, has been producing more electricity from renewables than from coal. And here comes Latin America. Energy costs from renewables are cheaper than anywhere else in the world. We have a steady climate, a reasonably good infrastructure, and a huge market in the north of the continent. So I'd like to invite you to follow me around the globe, and from my present location in El Salvador going east. Let's cross the Atlantic Ocean and we reach Africa. It's a Sahel zone with war-torn Mali and Niger. Alternatively, you could invest in Chad or in South Sudan. When you don't like that, we cross the Red Sea and reach another sunny place, Yemen. I suppose at present this is as well not the place to invest a penny. And I would have strong arguments once we cross, I would not have so strong arguments once we cross the Indian Ocean, but India and Southeast Asia are the least, at least culturally, more difficult than Latin America. And in no time we cross the Pacific and we are back home in beautiful countries of Central America, a region where you can speak a European language, to name just another advantage. You may be surprised to hear that my career has been formed in 12 years of postings to African countries. I served in South Africa and later as German ambassador to Malawi and Rwanda. So Africa is my continent, and Africa is my professional love, despite all the deficiencies. But please take my evaluation for the potential of Latin America, and in particular Central America, even more as an evaluation of an independent observer who cannot disrespect the facts. The Foreign Office rediscovered the area only a few years ago, so we really neglected it for quite some time. And we realized that here we find partners in value. Here we find partners in our understanding of democracy, and more than on most of the journey I just invited you to follow me around the globe. A year ago, in May, the Foreign Office in Berlin organized one of the biggest foreign ministers conferences for Latin America and the Caribbean countries in years. 21 foreign ministers joined us for the meetings in Berlin. 30 countries were present. And this proves there is as well an openness and an interest in Latin America to improve relations to Europe and to Germany in particular. We share the commitment for free trade, quite an aspect at the moment of a multilateral world, as well, not shared by everyone, but we are happy to find friends here in Latin America. And we share as well the analysis regarding climate change, with exceptions, on human rights as well, with exceptions. But we have more in common than what divides us. So I'd like to welcome you to Latin America. Come here, see us, visit us. Muchas gracias por su atención.
Thank
I'm
you
already through. So
yeah, thank you very much, His Excellency, for your introduction. And yeah, as you said, Germany and El Salvador have a long friendship, and I think it is important to underline the fact that it is important to work together with international partners, for example, with Latin America and the Caribbean, to achieve the energy transition worldwide, to exchange ideas, to learn from each other, from our experiences, and to do better. So thank you once again for being with us. As you said, we are in an unusual time due to the corona situation, but that's why we are organizing this fair trade in a digital way. We want to use the opportunities also of COVID to link people from different countries, from different continents, and to give them the opportunity to exchange ideas through, for example, this fair trade. So thank you very much, His Excellency, and have a nice day. Greetings from Germany.
Yes, I wish you a successful conference and enjoy the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye. So now we begin our first presentation for today, for our conference today. I'm happy to have with us on stage Mr. Ralf Bistorff. He's sales director at Zollander Ablufttechnik. It is a German company, and this German company provides solutions for exhaust air and odor treatment plants. Mr. Bistorff will provide us today with some measures how to reduce the nuisance to citizens caused by, for example, outdoor emissions. Mr. Bistorff, I think you are trying to share your screen. Thank you very much for being with us. Yeah, now you can see your screen. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen in Latin America. Good afternoon or good evening here in Berlin and Europe. Dear Mrs. Cavelli, dear member of the organizing team, buenos dias, bom dia. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this organization of this ExpoVirtual Latin America focused on environmental affairs, and for the organization of this conference and for your efforts which you have with all this event. For me, and I expect for all of you or most of you, there's a new way of holding such conferences. Although I miss direct contract with you, this technical variant opens up new possibilities for participation from most diverse regions without a difficult and time-consuming journey. Of course, sometimes these journeys I miss also in the same time because you lost the opportunity to meet nice countries and to meet nice people. Anyhow, for the next 25 or 20 minutes, I would like to draw your attention on the following subject: the measures to reduce the nuisance to citizens caused by odor emissions from municipal and industrial facility in urban areas. This is, we will have a small introduction of myself and our company. We will have a focus on some sources of odor in urban areas, a small sidestep on the legal basis, which gives a guideline for ruling and controlling these emissions. I will introduce a little bit in the measurement of odor called olfactometry, and last but not last, I will show you some abatement technologies which are state-of-the-art to reduce odor emissions. My name is Ralf Bistorff. I'm chemical engineer and working in the field of exhaust air purification for more than 25 years. At Zollander, I'm responsible for consulting our customers in order to develop solutions for their specific exhaust air cleaning challenges. By this, Zollander has solved over 1,000 tasks worldwide in a wide variety of applications. As you can see from this little map, we have marked the areas where we are active in blue. So Central America is already in our focus. We have placed some plants here and some solutions in Colombia and also in Ecuador and Mexico. Odor emissions are a common phenomenon, especially in the treatment and processing of waste and sewage, and also when you think about the reuse of waste to generate energy, like in a biogas facility or other plants where waste is used as a replacement for the carbon. However, odor-related emissions are also common in processing and industries, in food and beverage production, and in the fabrication of luxury items like cigarettes, coffee, or chocolate. The perception of the population, it plays only a minor role whether the smell is considered to be rather pleasant or unpleasant. So even if you think about the smell of an expensive perfume, it is unbearable if you are massively exposed to it 24 hours, 365 days a year. And this especially when you don't have a profit from that. So, of course, the odor or smell itself is not a toxic, but many studies have shown that the sense of smell and the impression it makes have a huge impact on our psyche and well-being, and ultimately also on our health. In many applications, the odor appears in combination with other air pollutants, which in turn have a direct negative impact on the health of the population and the environmental. In those cases, good exhaust air purification is essential anyhow. I have here listed a few of typical odor emitting facilities which you find also in urban areas, which is the wastewater treatment and the waste treatment, of course, related facilities like the composting, the sludge drying, also the sludge to energy, so which is more and more common to replace carbon by sludge from public wastewater treatment plants, which is combined also with odor emission, because the carbon itself is used to be more or less odor-free. So all the focus is done on the flue gas cleaning to reduce the negative impact of CO2, SO2, NOx, dust, and. But when you replace the carbon by sludge from a wastewater treatment plant, you have a new problem on your field, and this is odor. Therefore, we have developed several solutions, which I will explain later. What is the problem in the urban area with such odor emissions, which in former times nobody cared about? The increasing problem is that the facilities have less distance to the residual area, like in former times. So plants which have been built and planned on a green field are now surrounded by residual buildings. which came closer and closer to the facility. And so the only chance is to reduce the odor emission from those plants. You see here that you have only a few meters from the emission points, which is here mostly the inlet works of this sewage treatment plant. And a few hundred or few meters ago, you have the first buildings, and even here, touristic area with the beach. So you have to think how to avoid a negative impact on those neighbors. On the other hand, you have also installations when the population is growing more and the cities are going bigger and bigger. You have a lot of infrastructure which cannot be installed outside the city on the green field, but has to be implemented in the into the structure of the city. For example, this sewage pumping station, what you see here on this picture is directly in front of the next buildings. So it is a topic to reduce this odor emissions and to reduce the negative influence on the neighbors. Even in areas with less dense population, a high chimney alone is not the solution. A plume of smell can move over several kilometers and in worst case goes down selectively on a certain point and thus causes complaints of the neighbors. So you see here, this is a small city in a beautiful agricultural area. In front of the picture, we have a rendering plant where you, of course, have also an energy producing of animal waste, where you produce, can you produce alternative fuel. But nevertheless, the material which is handled here is quite smelly. So you have to think about how to reduce this impact. Let me tell you something about legal basis. So it is often the case that law and regulation regulates our coexistence. This is also the case here when looking at odor emissions and odor nuance. A good legal situation forms the basis for the technical and commercial decisions of investors and specifies a goal which is generally valid and can be implemented locally. So in Germany, we have the following structure, which I will show you here as an example how it can be done. And maybe you can pick up one or the other idea from this and transfer this into your local situation. So in Germany, we have this Bundesemissionsschutzgesetz, which means this is a federal emission control code where all the belongings are regulated, which have an impact on the neighbors. So you find here a lot of basis how to operate and what is allowed, what is not allowed. So this forms at least the basic of our, or the foundation of our rules. Beside this, we have then on top of this TH Luft, which is the technical instruction for air pollution control. This is fixed on the emission at the source or the stack of your facility. So here it is regulated what is allowed to push out through your stack on emission side. Related to the odor, we have the so-called GIRL or GIRL, which means Geruchsemissionsrichtlinie. You see, in Germany, we have always beautiful long words for such things, and nobody can understand if you talk it like that. So, but this GIRL isn't special advice where the focus is on the emission and emission of odor. It is regulated what is allowed, how shall you measure, what shall be measured, how it is to be calculated, and all that is regulated here in this GIRL. So I think the most essential message of this guideline is that finally you shall operate and plan your facility in the way that you have no or limited negative impact on the neighbors in your surrounding. So finally, the goal is that nobody outside your factory shall notice by smell what are you doing. And finally, we have a long list of DIN and European norms, VDE guidelines, or other guidelines like the DWA, dealing with the odor emission and odor treatment technologies. One of the most important here is the European norm 13725, which is determining the olfactometry. So that is the technology of odor measurement. We have norms for the different abatement systems like the VDE 3177 for the biological treatment. We have norms for the scrubbing of waste gases and waste gas cleaning. So the list will be much longer, and you find that all these norms are more or less linked together, and you can build up a huge network of such norms going up, down in the lowest details of such technologies. So for most people, this olfactometry is very spooky and new, and they have no idea how to measure odor. Is it possible to measure odor? Is there an electronic device which I can use, like a thermometer or something like that? And is it representative, the results which I got? Therefore, a long history, about 30 or 35 years, the development of the olfactometry, where at least you have to present your samples to the human noses as a sensor to detect the smell in your sample. So this olfactometry, like it is shown here on the picture, for human people are testing this sample in a certain dilution. So the sample is diluted in a certain range, starting with a very high dilution, and the vote is the point when is the moment when they can smell anything, and then they vote on this panel. So finally, it is a computer calculating the results, which is finally the odor per cubic meter measured. But I don't want to bore you with those things. So it is a very complicated method if you go into details. The second point is the possibility, how can we calculate the odor dispersion? Therefore, we have computer modeling, seeing what is emitted on the source and how it is divided in the surrounding. Hereby, not only the emission is put into the start, but also the local conditions, weather conditions, and geography. So by this, it is very easy, or it is possible to figure out what measures are necessary to reduce the odor, to come to the point that at the surrounding villages, you have no negative impact. Coming to the odor abatement technologies, where we have a lot of technologies available, where I will introduce you to some of them. But first of all, let me talk a little bit about the skyline of that. So the most and best technology is always to avoid the emission. So check your processes, where can you reduce the odor existence. The second step is the encapsulation. So close your processes, close your facilities, don't allow to the odorous air to exhaust uncontrolled. And finally, it is cleaning the air. For the cleaning, air cleaning, we have classically this biofilter, which is reducing the odorous components by a biological way. So after a short pre-treatment and humidification, the air is passing organic media, which mostly is part of wood chips or something like that, where the air is treated by the the contaminants are converted by microbes which are living on this wood chips. Some advantages, of course, this is a low cost and low investment costs. Have a lot of challenge in odor polishing, because the microbes adapt to their task, and at least it is a simple operation technology in maintenance. I will show you some samples of this. With this a sludge to energy plant where biosolid is generated to biogas, having huge airflow rate, which is treated in this biofilter. Also here in wastewater treatment plant, close to the next city in wind direction, but ensuring that the neighbors will not complain about the odorous emission. Also in rendering plants, like here, a plant in Spain, where you have also in a few meters the next neighbors, which will not smell all day and night the smell of the rendering and slaughterhouse. Second technology, which is also very common, is the chemical scrubbing, like shown here in the very principal schedule. The air is pushed to a packing, which is sprayed with scrubbing liquid. You can add some chemicals or other agents to the scrubbing liquid to remove this odorous components. Same technology is also used in normal or standard air cleaning systems. Same thing is also, you can, if you need a multi-stage system, you can have a horizontal orientation with a multi-stage system, which is very common in odor treatment because the chemical behavior of the odorous components is very different. So mostly it is necessary to have several stages with different chemicals which reduce the components step by step. Here also some advantages and disadvantages, of course. This is chemical scrubbing is much smaller footprint, but on the other side, you have to maintain all these chemicals and this electronic control facilities, which you don't have on the biofilter. Some pictures here also to show you what I'm talking about. This typical countercurrent scrubbers. Here a two-step plant treating the exhaust air from a rendering plant, or here, as I show you in this sketch, the horizontal cross-flow scrubber in a wastewater treatment plant. Finally, I would introduce this activated carbon filters, which is very common also in odor treatment, because the activated carbon takes a lot of odors, non-odorous components, with a high efficiency. So these activated carbon filters are mostly used as a polisher or as a standalone unit if you have a facility point without any people working there. So it is a very easy way of function. You know these carbon filters also from your air conditioning system in the car or in the kitchen. But this is an industrial style filter. So efficiency is also very high, especially on low loads, which is evident on having when talking about odor, because lots of the odorous components has a very low odor threshold. That means even in the concentration of very few micrograms, you can smell this component, and this concentration often is far below the limits for this single component as an emission value. So when you talk about odor, mostly you have to go far below the allowed concentration of those components. Finally, I show you some pictures of a small and a huge facility for those treatment plants. So on the left side, you see a small unit which is on a pumping station, which you see it's compared to a chemical scrubber. It is very easy and simple system. It's more or less just a box and a ventilator who is blowing the air through the carbon. Yeah, thank you for your attention. I hope I could have introduced you a little bit in the world of odor treatment, which finally I think is more and more also important to take into consideration when planning and designing new facilities in the neighborhood of your citizens.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Bistorff, for this nice introduction on the importance of developing an environmental waste air management and to have these filters actually to protect the environment. Just let me remind our audience that you are an exhibitor at the Fair Trade, and you can be found in the pavilion Environment and Infrastructure. Yep. So just come over. Mr. Bistorff and his team is looking forward to your visit, and you have the chance not only actually to visit the stand, but also to make directly an appointment with every exhibitor. So you will see that every exhibitor has a calendar. You can arrange an appointment with them. You can chat in real time with every exhibitor with Mr. Bistor and his team. And you can also in real time, for example, Zoom with the exhibitors, so you can see each other face to face, like in a real situation. You can download the material Mr. Bistor has uploaded for you. You will also find in the gallery of every exhibitor wonderful photos about, for example, the installations, about the filters that Mr. Bistor has presented today. So don't be shy and ask questions. Mr. Bistor is looking forward to your questions, and he will provide you more in detail with explanations about his solution for your odor control problems. Thank you very much, Mr. Bistor, and it was really a nice introduction, a nice presentation, and see you on your stand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much also again, and have a good time in the progress of this seminar.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So now we will move to another interesting presentation. Mrs. Sylvia Coleman, she is managing director of a network of around 670 companies and institutions involved in environmental technologies from the German federal states Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. For you in Latin America and the Caribbean, if you don't know where Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is, you know where Berlin is, and Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is above Berlin, bound to the north by the Baltic Sea, so that you have an image where this network is located. Mrs. Coleman will present us today her network, and she will show us 2 best practices on waste management and recycling directly from Latin America. So thank you very much, Mrs. Coleman, to be with us, and you can start. You can now, Mrs. Coleman, turn your microphone on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
Ah, wonderful. I'm happy. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you, Marta. Thank you, Mrs. Sasse. Thank you, all the team, for this broad conference and exhibition, which is like really a great idea and wonderful measure to come together between Germany and so far countries throughout the world that we cannot visit right now. So thank you for this wonderful event. I'm really sorry that my internet connection is not working properly today.
It's okay. We can hear you well.
So then we choose that I connect by phone, and you can see my presentation, and afterwards you can contact me by email or WhatsApp or whatever you like. So like Marta said, I will present a network. Please, second slide. So I'm hopefully see this. Okay, wonderful. Just to give you, like she said, where is Mecklenburg-Vorpommern? That's a federal state. We are in the north of Germany on the Baltic Sea. We are about 1.6 million inhabitants, and our major branches are tourism, agriculture, maritime industry, and environmental technologies. Our region is quite special, as our former president, Joachim Gauck, was born here in Rostock, in our region, and our Chancellor, Mrs. Merkel, right now, she had a consistency here as well. So 2 famous people are connected to our federal state and to our region. Next slide, please. So we are 22 industrial partners with more than 3,000 employees. So we are like a quite big network with different companies, research institutions, that we are working together, and we are supporting our members in the area of market development and international projects and organizing workshops and fairs. So I really have a small idea how much effort and how much organization this was for Energiewende and the whole team to organize such a huge event. Next slide, please. This is the overview of our member. Like I said, we are industrial partners. So we have very big companies that are in the area of waste treatment and waste management and waste to energy as well. Like you maybe probably know Veolia, Remondes, Nielsen, EEB. This is a company where they have a lot of waste to energy plants. They are located around the world. We have engineering companies and as well energy plants, energy construction, and as well landfills in this network. So we are along the value chain. That means engineering, waste management, disposal, and education. Next slide, please. As well, we have a broad cooperation between networks here in our federal state, but as well like the Prevent Alliance. This is a big organization regarding waste management in Germany, but as well, not just waste management, but as well renewable energy. These are always two major aspects, and our region here is quite special as well, because right now about 180% we are producing with the resource of renewable energy. So our region is quite famous for photovoltaic, biogas, and wind energy. Okay, next slide, please. So what are the markets? What kind of projects do we develop, and where are the contacts? These are just some examples. We, outside of Europe, we are focused on Latin and South America, but as well on Asia and on Africa. Always countries are interested for us, for a cooperation, for our network and for our partners, where the waste is mostly from households or industrial waste is mostly disposed. That means, how can we improve the separation of waste in these countries, and how can we have a material or an energy recovery of this waste? In Germany and in Europe, we have like a cycle where we try to use all the different resources various times. So that's why we try to improve the separation as good as possible. If we improve the separation, we have very good fractions, and with these fractions we can improve the recycling. That means the material recovery. Or if this is not possible, we can have energy recovery. That means waste to energy. So we can, out of the waste, we can produce energy. That means electricity, but as well steam, for example, for industrial use, or steam can be used for households. Here in Germany, oftentimes we need hot water and steam for the heating. I know in Brazil, right now we have probably more than 30 degrees right now, so you need more the opposite. That means air condition. Okay, next slide. So what do we do? And I will give you some, in this short time that we have available, I will just show you what we do, because our mission is to bring people throughout the world together in this aspect of waste dismemoriation, waste treatment, renewable energy. We bring these people together to develop new projects and to start projects, because this is always very curious and hard for a lot of SMEs in Germany as well in other countries to start negotiation, to start project, because they never know where to go, what to do. So we help people and companies to come together and really work in projects. That means we organizing as well different events and workshops, but we organizing trainings and business delegation where people from throughout the world are coming and checking our plans and sites. Okay, next slide, please. I checked because since 2007 now, so this is like almost 13 years we are in this network active. So I chose 3 examples. What does it mean, project management in the area of waste management? We are working, this is always important, with communities, with universities, with companies together, because waste and energy are 2 topics where we're always dealing with laws and regulation on both sides. This is the same in your country as in our country. And it's always very important if we develop technology projects like plans to analyze what kind of laws and regulations apply right now, and are they possible to build new plans and to control them. This is very important. That's why I choose this project. This is one that we developed and implemented with Santa Catarina. That's one of the southern federal state in Brazil. They're like, the good thing is there are a lot of German-speaking people still, and I choose this because we developed and helped them to create and to analyze the cost for the community, for the waste management, and which is very important, to develop tariffs, because here in Germany we are used to pay for the household waste. Each household pays for the waste management. And a lot of times in other countries, the cost for the waste management and the treatment has to come from the community. And usually they don't have enough money to improve this waste management. And we educate the representatives from this community in Santa Catarina and the federal state to help them to develop a tariff system so they can get more money to improve the waste management and to finally come up with waste treatment. Because money, you always know that's in all projects important. At the end of the day, technologies has to be paid, and where is this money come from? This is very important. So that's these were I think 15 majors and representatives from different communities in Brazil. They came, had an education here, and we developed models for these tariffs so they can finance their waste management in the community. Okay, next slide, please. As well, this is an example from Brazil as well. This is the most southern federal state. That's a project we developed with 2 German companies. This is Rio Grande do Sul. And we supported the capital city, that's Porto Alegre, the metropolitan region. There are a lot of different hospitals. And in these hospitals, they have had a very good separation, like you see on the picture, of the waste. So it was transported and captured, this waste, but just more or less it was sterilized and then went to the landfill. And this is like a really highly cost for the hospitals. So with the German companies, what we did is we analyzed these different fractions in these different hospitals. What was the amount? What is the quality of the waste? Because if there is a certain amount of heating value of this waste, of these different fractions, then we can develop, and that's what we did. We developed a concept for then how to use this waste for thermal treatment. That means thermal utilization. So if they gather all these different fractions of waste in these different hospitals, they have a certain amount and a certain quality. So then it makes economically feasible to really install a thermal utilization. If you don't have these values, if you don't have this information, you cannot develop technology projects. So this was quite cost effective for the hospitals. And now they have the possibility to really produce electricity and steam, what they maybe use because they have their own laundry system. That's the second picture you see in the middle where we went to the laundry. So they can use this electricity and steam production for their own laundry. So we supported them in the concept, how can they develop such thermal utilization? What is the cost of it? What kind of legalization, what kind of controlling do they need to really improve or, how to say, benefit from the waste? So waste is not just an amount that goes to the landfill and costs money for this hospital, but it's a source of material that you really can use for, like I said, electricity and steam. So this is like an example how technology transfer functions, how we bring people together, how can they benefit from the knowledge, from the technologies we have, and how can we develop a solution for exactly this region with this specific waste which is available there. Okay, next slide. So if we talk about not just waste to energy, but waste disminnution, because this is always an important thing to lower the amount of waste, because the waste we have, if we do not produce it, then we don't have to treat, obviously. And we have the European pyramid, and it's obligatory to avoid waste in the first place. Second is to have some sort of reuse. The third is recycling, and the fourth step is the thermal treatment. That means the energy recovery. And fifth, if everything is not possible, then the waste is going to the landfill. For example, in Germany, about 5% of the household waste in whole Germany, just 5% is going to the landfill. And this is really a big difference to a lot of countries in the world. For example, I showed you two examples in Brazil. I'm running projects of finished projects that they're around 80 to 90%, depending on the region, is going to the landfill. So there's really a few amount of material or energy recovery. That means there's a really big potential and possibilities for future projects to really use this waste in different manners if we have international projects. And if we talk about saving the environment, protecting the environment, and to really have economically benefit, because like when we use the waste, it's really like an economic advantage for the project partners. As well, it's always important to integrate the young people, to explain them, to show them how things work, how do these plans work. And we had really a wonderful project. Now we're continuing with the school. It's a school in Rostock and a school in Porto Alegre, where we had really a school exchange, where we had students here in Rostock and Mecklenburg-Vorpommern and teachers, as well as students and teachers here from Germany went to Brazil. This was last year, to have young people be motivated to take care, not only to take care of the environment, but the good thing is as well to raise the awareness, to motivate young people to go in the area of environmental technology, because this is our new employees and our new colleagues in the future. Okay, next slide. Yeah, this second, I give you some short introduction about the project, and now this is just some examples what we did obviously before Corona. We had different stands and fairs. Now we have the digital fair as well, so you're more than welcome to get in contact with me as well after the presentation. This is always a very good hint for you if you are interested in waste management and waste to energy technology. The EFAT in Munich, it's a huge fair that was always takes care all 2 years. The next will be 2022. That's very advisable to get to know different technology from all over the world. It takes place in Munich. And okay, next slide, please. Yeah, we have different events where we bring, where we show really people how these plans work. So you're more than welcome, because now, for example, as the personal meetings are not possible right now, but today, for example, we will start on Monday a 2 weeks training for Brazilian experts on waste management digital. We have the support of our government, from our federal state, from our environmental ministry, to give information, to give a training on waste management in the first week, and in the second week, I had to bless, sorry. And in the second week, we really go by digital walk in the different plants of waste management and landfills. This is really a new event what we are organizing right now, to bring people together and to develop the project by digital way. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, this was the business delegation from Brazil, for example. This was last year. This was supported by our federal state as well. You can see on the right to the down, we went to landfills. You see there's hardly no waste to see. It's covered up, and on the top, for example, as well as wind energy plants. And to the right top, this is the castle, this is the capital of our federal state. So we always inform about the structure on planning and controlling these waste and energy plants here in Germany as well, not just the technical information, but as well on laws and regulation. This is always, and of course, like I said, about costs. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I don't know, I cannot see it anymore. I hope it works. So I will check my other slide. So just to give you, I talked a lot about Brazil, but like we have different delegation from all over the world, like Asia as well, Uzbekistan, Mozambique. So we are open to all different countries. Hopefully after Corona, you can visit us and see our different plans. We like to open the doors again. Okay, next slide, please. I will hurry a little bit because I look at the time. You know all these challenges, because I like to give some opportunities for future cooperation. Sorry, I don't see you, so I can just give you some opportunities for working together. So, okay, next slide, please. These are the major areas we are working on. You probably know that Germany now has a very strong strategy regarding H2, so especially green energy and the storage, and especially as well our European Union. So there are projects developed right now in different areas to support these technologies here in Germany, as well as the production and the storage. But these are different aspects where we can work together. This is not just like the waste management, like I said, the solid waste management, but as well the water, the wastewater treatment is very interesting aspect as well for cooperation, where we have partners in the network. But energy efficiency, that means how to lower the amount of energy to consume in different industrial plants as well, could be very interesting for cooperation. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is the offer I wanted to give, depending on what area you are from. If you're a company, a university, or a school, or public authority. For companies, I can give a short summary. For us, it's always, and for our members, it's always interesting in developing projects together on waste management. That means how, like I said, material and energy recovery. What does it mean? How can we use the waste and the usage of renewable energy? This could be, for example, biogas as a biogas plant. So they use sorts, for example, of Gülle, I don't know the rest of animals, so I don't know the name. And especially business and market development, that's always for our members interesting, to go to other countries which quite are far away, where they're different from Europe and different from European laws and regulation. And especially we more than welcome you, that's what I said before as well, to visit the facilities. Our members are very open to show their facilities, how waste is separated, treated, and goes to the landfill. So we are open to this visit. For university as well, we have experienced a lot in R&D projects for technologies and processes. This could be, for example, as well for lowering the emission of industrial plants. This is a very interesting topic where we have a project right now as well. And like I said, training, education on waste management, renewable energy, how to transfer the information and know-how to, and how universities can work together and how can we support them. Public authorities, that's what I said in the beginning. It's always interesting to exchange on acts on governmental level, as we talk on waste and energy, always on laws and regulation. This is so connected. That means laws and regulation not on federal level, that means national, but as well on federal, state, and on communities, and really on the small scale, because this is like always where the waste is produced, and we support to develop the specific plans, or this could be used for, especially like I said, with the costs and fees, how can we finance these technologies? Because, you know, to be honest, the waste management system in Germany and Europe is quite advanced, and it costs a lot of money. That's really, to be honest. But we have a lot of different possibilities to support foreign countries and an international cooperation with Germany, and we always find a solution to develop step by step to help you to lower the waste. That means to lower the cost for you and to find a proper use of the waste, to see it as a resource instead of just for the landfill. Okay, I think last slide. And this is like a picture from Mexico I choose. This is where we went to a landfill in landfill in Mexico, where I explain and we work together in with these colleagues to find solutions. And this was before Corona. Me and our team with the different companies who went to all different countries. So hopefully, maybe you have some question or you contact me in the end or afterwards, and would be glad to see you someday in person. So all the best for you. Keep healthy. Have a wonderful Christmas time, and hope to see you one day in person. Thank you so much for the time and organization.
Thank you very much, Ms. Coleman, for this nice introduction of your network and for sharing with us your knowledge and your best practices in the region in Latin America and the Caribbean. I think that there were really helpful projects that you share with us. And as you said, the most important thing is to bring people together to start new projects and new partnerships and new collaboration. And that's also the message that we want to leave here to the audience, to come and visit your stand at the fair, to ask you questions. How can the audience profit from your network?
Exactly. So, yeah, I think yes.
Exactly, and the audience can also chat with you. You are also available on WhatsApp, which I think it's a loved communication tool in Latin America for our audience. So come over. Miss Coleman is waiting for you.
Just one hint. Thank you so much. And podemos hablar en español también. Puedo ofrecer los servicios, los productos en español también. Quizás es más fácil hablar en español. Muchas gracias a todos.
Muy bien. Thank you. See you next time, Ms. Coleman.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move forward to the next presentation, the last presentation for our first session today. I'm really happy. I already see you, Mr. Leonardo Velasco Ochoa. I hope I pronunciate your name correctly. He is the president of the Mexican Photovoltaic Industry Association, and today he will give us some opportunities for creating a circular economy on the PV solar industry. Thank you very much, Mr. Velasco, for being with us. We see your screen already. That's wonderful. And now we see your presentation. The floor is yours.
Well, Marta, thank you very much. I would like to, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Excellent. So I'd like to acknowledge the organizers, of course, from this event, to all the energiewende crew. I appreciate the invite very, very much. So a little bit about the association. It's Mexico Photovoltaic Industry Association, or AMIF in short. We're comprised of private companies within the solar industry. About 75% of our members are solar installers, and the rest, the other 25%, is shared between distributors, manufacturers, and other service providers. So I will say that every new industry is in a very dire need of coordination, especially in a country where political matters are often in conflict with the private sector. Avoiding conflicts of interest on a growing and dynamic industry is easier said than done. I will also say a bit about myself. I am the CEO of a company called Energitech. We are an EPC contractor and an O&M contractor for the Mexican commercial and industrial segment, offering distributed generation assets along with extensive power quality and energy efficiency services. We tend to couple both solutions in a bundled package. So today I will be talking about how the PV industry can lead the way on applying circular economy principles. Most people are familiar with the concept of circular economy. It is basically an improved economic framework that strives for a restorative and regenerative behavior. We've heard it, of course, before. So this is very relevant, a very relevant matter for the PV industry, Since it is under a lot of scrutiny, of course, we need to claim leadership in achieving sustainable practices. We could expect nothing less, of course, than this. Our ambition in this regard will be to set the standards for all other industries, and I believe that is what we're doing. So on a side note, emerging markets and developing countries like Mexico present a significant challenge for the PV industry to remain sustainable. I will talk a little bit about that as well. So let us take a moment to walk through the circle. When a product is originally conceived on the design table, already it may or may not adhere to circular economy principles. Today, we have many good practices to follow, like design for disassembly. We've heard of that. Design for ease of maintenance and repair. Design for durability, and that's a big one in the PV industry. Design for material recovery. So all of these, there is a requirement. Every stakeholder along the product's life cycle must take this into consideration to really unlock the full potential of a circular economy. So all of these best practices have to follow through in every different position of this circle. So the point is avoiding a linear flow towards a landfill. So it is just as simple as that, right? So next, I'm going to present 3 slides, which are meant to share some context of where the solar PV industry really is. So as we know, climate crisis is ramping up solar energy. Here we are seeing a graph from the famous Renewables 2020 Global Status Report. We're talking about an industry showing tremendous growth. By the end of 2019, the world had an accumulated peak capacity of 627 gigawatts. By the end of 2019, at least 39 countries had a cumulative capacity beyond 1 gigawatt. So everyone has participated. This is a global movement, we must say. And we must realize the first thing we must accomplish for us to consider a fair cost-benefit ratio in product recovery is volume. So let's keep that in mind. Leading countries are China, with about 33% of all cumulative installed capacity. Then the United States with 12%, Japan with 10%, and Germany with 7.8%. Which is really rather impressive when you consider per capita figures. Also, we must set the record straight on carbon footprint, especially since the PV industry is comparatively more populated with green citizens than any other industry. And here is one of the main reasons why. The energy payback ratio on a PV module is quite appealing. What is the true impact of PV energy? Well, it takes from 3% to 13% of the energy produced by a solar PV module through its complete life cycle to offset any energy that was released during the entire production chain. This includes, of course, mining of materials, manufacturing, assembling, transportation, and installing the modules on their final destination. So this correlates to about 1 year to 3 years after commissioning date to compensate its own footprint. It does not take a whole lot of time for a PV module to become carbon positive, which is why it's become such a mainstream green innovation. A higher carbon footprint before commissioning comes from many factors. It could be driven by the fact of how carbonized is the electricity grid that manufactures them, or how far away are the raw materials from the final location. So hence the range from 3% to 13%. It seems a bit mind-boggling, but that's the reason why. So we also need to discuss what's happened to the industry in terms of pricing. Average prices on solar PV modules have had a tremendous drop over the past decades. And it still has its eyes fixed on reducing costs. I myself might even think the industry is starting to delay on some underlying sustainable responsibilities. And that is something that needs to change within the next couple of years. Both consumers and manufacturers are bound to see an incentive behind a more sustainable approach, which is why policy is needed. But how do we get things going? How do we favor a more collaborative approach, not only between leading actors of the industry, but between governments and countries all over the world? That's the big challenge. So we have been mass producing polysilicon cells for 38 years now, and the sharp increase in end-of-life modules is about to begin. We are completely aware of that. So, for instance, IRENA estimates more than 78 million tons of solar PV module waste is going to be reached at the year 2050. So now is the right time to make sure circular economy is all over the solar industry. Currently, there has been an underlying pursuit to recycle and reuse some of these materials from the beginning. Glass and aluminum, as you can see, together compose about 88% of the module, and they are quite easy to recover. So this is the reason why glass-to-glass technology within the PV solutions present higher recycling rates than any other commercially available solution. Most manufacturers seem comfortable with a useful life of 30 years. That seems to be the baseline for everyone. But some people argue that they can go as far as 40 years, especially in developing countries. I mean, I myself take that position. Would you consider waste something that's still having a 80% electricity output? I would say not. In developing countries, secondary solar PV module markets are going to become a cornerstone of a circular economy. So how do we convince manufacturers? Well, they can gain a technological and hence a competitive advantage. They can translate their efforts into financial and reputational benefits. As an economic driver, solar module recycling is also going to be a potential big employer. And the effective management of the waste stream could also lead to interesting manufacturing opportunities along the way. In Europe, solar panels are officially regarded as electronic waste, which means they must be collected and recycled in an appropriate manner. That's, in terms of regulation, it's as far as leadership goes. Of course, in Mexico, we are very, very far behind. In Germany, PV modules are subject to a statutory take-back obligation. And that, of course, many questions arise within the Mexican solar industry as to how that came into being in the first place. So every actor is going to have to be managed. PV Cycle, the famous European association, is one of the most successful projects in terms of achieving circular economy principles around the PV industry. We, as an association, we have a lot of interaction with PV Cycle. We've been having a growing interest within our member base to interact with them and to actually come to participate in an actual presence here in Mexico. So they have been around for more than 13 years, and they have collected and processed over 35,000 tons of PV waste, and they are ramping up dramatically. I believe they are the world leaders in this regard, and supporting them and their coverage in the world presents a fair opportunity to enhance a circular economy. So also, some module manufacturers like First Solar in the United States have a unique approach by securing recycling plants wherever it manufactures. So this gives them the opportunity for material reintegration straight back from active locations. So this is also some of the pioneer projects that we've seen. Formulating strategies and guidelines to help solar installers follow best practices for end of life or return under warranty solar infrastructure is key to attain circular economy principles in the PV industry. This is not always clear, and of course, ourselves, our consumers tend to view 30 or 40 years of longevity on a product as such a high timeline that they tend to forget what's going to happen at the end. So another big answer to how is bringing big data and artificial intelligence to the table. Running acceptable degradation models is very, very hard. Not many people realize that, especially on a product with such high longevity. So an empirical approach is just not feasible. So computing power has made a very significant difference on the laboratory, allowing for better and more predictable simulations. So this is something that has enhanced the industry's ability to become circular economy friendly, let's say. On the other hand, enhanced manufacturing techniques and toxic-free products are currently driving research and development efforts globally. There is a pressing need of solar PV manufacturers to achieve a lead-free solar PV module, and we're getting there fast. Lead, of course, it's a very hazardous material, and it doesn't have a very considerable presence in terms of volume, but the fact that it's hazardous is something that really must be prioritized. There have been significant breakthroughs in terms of reducing the use of harmful materials, and we have identified new ways to recover, for instance, copper, silver, and its high purity silicon. This last one, it can be reused and repurposed in other product lines. The high purity of silicon has become quite attractive for the battery industry, for instance. So currently, the 4 commercially available recycling techniques for solar PV modules are chemical etching, thermal treatment, dry and wet mechanical process, and physical disintegration. So these are scarcely practiced in Germany, France, Italy, Japan, and the USA. So who takes the lion's share of the burden? What level of responsibility lies with consumers, manufacturers, governments, and intermediaries within the supply chain? Well, I would be first to say there is no straightforward answer that would make everyone comfortable, maybe even anyone really. So I will state the obvious. Everyone has a small share to contribute. And I believe citizens and politicians are at the forefront of this conundrum. I love that word, conundrum. I mean, it is really puzzling because it's technically so complex what's going on behind it. So a lot of governments and a lot of citizens tend to be misinformed in this regard. So how do we get citizens and politicians geared towards long-term thinking? And that's ultimately the goal. Well, collecting and recycling PV plants must make their way to all countries with more than 1 gigawatt of cumulative installed capacity. And as I mentioned in the beginning, there are already 39 countries that would make the list. But we need to make the plan gradual plan for it to work. These countries first need to focus on dealing with forcing manufacturers to plan on a return under warranty process. That's the first thing to arrive, right? All the modules that haven't reached end of life, but they were damaged along transport or for whatever reasons they had a manufacturing defect. So having a well-planned return under warranty process and even small service shops and testing facilities, this needs to be a shared responsibility between manufacturers and private importers as well. And this is perhaps a little bit of what I mentioned earlier, that the industry is still too focused on driving cost downs, which is, I don't think it's necessarily, the other pole, right? I don't think it's something that's counterintuitive to start thinking on the long term and driving costs down. Governments could make this more appealing by offering tax incentives and designing a clear regulatory framework that could benefit manufacturers, importers, installers, and end users, whoever is dealing with imports directly. So dealing with imports, that's the first opportunity we have to really set the rules straight and to define all these different obligations. Associations like PV Cycle need to be supported by all industry players, but governments should be strong promoters and facilitators of these initiatives, and we are keen on that. In Mexico, we've approached a lot of government officials with this proposition to start at least engaging the media and starting awareness as a first cornerstone to accomplish. Furthermore, government regulations must create a price tag on polluting products that end up on landfills. So this is something that it's going to be extremely important for us to see in different countries within the next couple of years. Environmental costs must find their way to the bottom line of private industries. It's as simple as that. But like I said on the starting line, this is all easier said than done. So this is where I'm going to be perhaps a bit politically incorrect, and I apologize, but not every small business owner in this industry recycles at home or drives a hybrid. Not every manager of multinational companies understands climate change and pollution trends. So one thing we must strive for to protect our industry is consistency. In a developing country like ours, we see solar manufacturers pushing products to the market that do not have the smallest bit of traceability. So we see international corporations without R&D functions commanded by only sales mentality leaders. So don't get me started with politics. I would just say a small brief line. Populism is the ultimate marketing tool in politics, and the only antidote is education. So it all starts with building awareness, which is one of the main reasons these events are so important for everyone. So there's also a couple of resources I would like to stand out for everyone to be able to get a lot of information. So I like to stand out PV Magazine's UP initiative. Most of our audience have heard of that, which has basically supplied a plethora of information on the subject we are discussing here today. There's PV Cycle, of course. They have a tremendous amount of resources offering collective and PV waste management solutions. The United Nations, they have their Sustainable Development Goals as well to abide. They serve as an excellent guide, particularly Directive 12, aimed at responsible consumption and production. And most importantly, number 7, which calls for a global supply of affordable clean energy. Also, this year we had NRELS, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. They issued a report this particular subject. It actually became quite a benchmark in terms of end-of-life management of PV modules. So I believe the PV industry has an incredible opportunity to lead the sustainable road. And we, like I said, there's a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of pressure to us becoming global leaders and driving circular economy principles. But there is also the cultural side behind it. For instance, in Mexico, I've been saying that we tend to undervalue the social aspects, not only behind climate change, which is something that fortunately has become mainstream and has become quite a topic over the past few years. But the effect of technology, for instance, PV modules on a utility scale against PV modules on a roof, on a house somewhere, on a distributed generation scheme, they tend to have a cultural and social impact, which is quite different. What we are enabling socially with distributed generation is a certain awareness, right? I mean, the difference between most of us, I mean, we're not discussing how young or how old I am, might be just in between, but I can't believe we have the opportunity today of having a newborn on a house that can supply and produce so many of its own resources. So that's something that stands out, and it needs to really get some focus, the social side of things. And of course, we must find a political will to overcome all this misinformation and to overcome the short-term economic gains. Of course, there's a very, very spiky and conflicting subject, which is how much of the right does a developing country has for polluting or emitting more in favor of obtaining economic gain. So that's part of the discussion. And I tend to go straight to the really hard, unavoidable topics. So those are the ones behind circular economy. I mean, I wish, me as an engineer, I wish it was as easy as having the technical solutions in place, because most of them are already there. So this is what I have, basically, circular economy. I know it's quite a very, very broad subject. It's complicated. I would like to say that we, as the Mexican PV Association, are very interested on accelerating all the different projects and learning curves that Europe has had over the past years. We are currently in Mexico, we're like 6 or 7 gigawatt capacity if you add up distributed generation and utility scale. So we see a huge opportunity. You know, we need to be able to balance growth with long-term thinking. We are in a very special place right now. So we have the opportunity to really become benchmarks and guide, become a standard for Latin America as well, I believe. So this is me also asking for help. I would like to share as well our website right here, and I've placed my email down there. So if anyone wishes to contact us and to able to see what things look like here in Mexico, so you're most welcomed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Velasco, for this really nice introduction on addressing current and future panel waste in the PV industry. We have actually 2 questions for you. The first one is, has the Mexican PV Association thought about repurposing panels, for instance, by donating them to poorer segments of their population or other nearby countries that have energy deficiencies?
Yes, thank you, Marta. For sure. I mean, I think that developing countries, I think I did mention a bit of that. What's the actual definition of waste, right? I mean, an 80% output, even a 70% output, it's definitely something that we wouldn't consider waste. So there will be a secondary market for it. I think we don't have to fight such tendency. On the contrary, we must endorse it, and we must learn how to really facilitate exchange in that regard. I do think that the Mexican market, it is still in its infancy, and we've had a very dramatic climb, let me say. We even had like a 120% annual growth rate somewhere in there along the last 10 years. So it's been amazing. I mean, about 10 years ago, we had like 17 megawatt capacity, and right now we're reaching 6 or 7 gigawatt capacity. So it's been overwhelming. It's still not, we're still missing a secondary market. So that's something that we're going to be endorsing sometime. Of course, there's also the security and the safety behind it. Developing countries tend to have different challenges, right? At the time being, believe it or not, we've had some major issues with module and imports and exports issues based on the theft. So that's a different kind of secondary market, right? So we're fighting off that one as opposed to having that other most recommended second market, right? For different users. It might be residential users. I mean, we know we don't have a limited surface requirement. So that means at end of life, where we might have a useful asset that still has something to contribute. So yes, that's going to become, I'm guessing within the next 5 years, a very relevant aspect of the PV industry here in Mexico.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for your answer. Another question to you, Mr. Velasco. A participant asks you, how does cooperation look in the future? The private sector has a big responsibility not only for improving the carbon emissions, but for finding ways to collaborate with the general population, to find ways to empower them to take action in their day-to-day. So how does cooperation look in the future, in your opinion?
Well, it's a challenge, of course. I think we have a sort of like a political crisis in the world, right? I mean, I think Mexico is not an exception, but COVID really brought the worst of ourselves in the media, where you could see all these generalizations, these hyper partisan stance, right? That it has confused citizens, has confused consumers in many ways, and has sort of imposed a setback in such regards. Collaboration is key. And this is something that I'm pretty prone, I'm seeing more of. There's no entity, there's no single actor that's, let's say, completely off the hook in a way. But we tend to focus our aim and responsibilities in either one position or another, government or the private industry. Collaboration starts by acknowledging that there's a shared responsibility in all of these things. Consumer plays a role, but in order for them to get them informed, we have to be able to disclose transparent information from private corporations to flow all the way to the users, to the final users. So it looks a bit hard. I would say that we are going to have to, collaboration for me right now, it seems like where this dark cloud is coming over, with climate change. We will either achieve that by ourselves, or we're going to be forced to collaborate in many regards. I see that. Throughout companies, diplomacy is also a huge aspect behind it. Emerging markets tend to be misunderstood and tend to be treated as short-term markets from some manufacturers. I did mention when I was being politically incorrect, I could be even more politically incorrect, but I won't. But I do sense that every position in the supply chain either has good actors or bad actors, right? And of course, that is a personal opinion. I'm not judging, but we have manufacturers that have a very short-term approach on the PV industry. We have distributors, importers, and installers that are also involved in achieving a very short-term bias. And of course, we got all kinds of things in consumers. In Mexico, as you all know, having a state-owned company dominate the landscape has had its share. The fact that many users, final consumers, don't see we have options on the table has sort of produced a certain, how do you call it, rigidity on the culture. So I don't know if that answers that. It's a hard question, but I'm going to be optimistic first and foremost, and we're going to try to collaborate as much as we can.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Velasco, for your answers. I think you're right. We are getting there, but we need to find more, maybe by interacting with each other, more ideas, for example, how to overcome these obstacles. And I think that the circular economy in the future offers, in the PV industry, offer good opportunities for foreign companies wishing to expand their green business to Germany. So I think that we, or the audience will follow up this topic. And today, for example, in the live chat in our network room, thank you very much for sharing with us this nice introduction into the topic. And we have a pavilion actually on recycling with concrete solutions here in Germany that our companies have developed. So I invite the audience to come over to see what solutions those companies are sharing, are providing us, and interact with each other, because only by interacting with each other, new business models will be developed. So thank you very much, Mr. Velasco, once again. And yeah, have a nice,
delighted, Marta.
nice
Thank you very much. Take care.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye. Well, now we will have a short break of 5 minutes. Just let me give you a short advice. You can download some of the presentations of the past 2 conference days at our stand, Energiewende, in the Global Hub. And we will come back in 5 minutes. If you cannot see the conference in 5 minutes, don't forget to refresh your page by pressing on the key F5 on your keyboard. See you in 5 minutes.
Marta? Marta, can we test the presentation?